Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our first ever Limitless Women's Convo. I'm Kate Chowdhury with Career Services.
And I'm Jasmine McKinney with the Office of Equity and Inclusion.
Awesome. And today we're here to talk about strong women who have risen up to the top of their careers and exemplified leadership regardless of age, race, gender, or ethnicity.
So Women's History Month honors and celebrates the struggles and the achievements of American women throughout history in the United States. American women have not only fought for rights for themselves, but also for underrepresented and disenfranchised groups.
Today, we're going to hear from Ashley Rich, Justin Mercer, Ruth Bibby, and Cynthia Tompkins about some of their experiences and stories of what it means to be limitless for women everywhere.
Now, if you would please direct your attention back to the screens for this short video. Thank you.
Wow. Good morning, everyone. My name is Esther Lusenge, and I'm the Student Body Vice President here. I just want to thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to be seated next to these incredible women and Justin Mercer, who is such an incredible man. I want to take this moment just to let them introduce themselves and to tell you a little bit about what they do, their roles, and how, again, they have been limitless in championing women in the workplace. So starting with you.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Rich, and I am the Vice President of Student Financial Services here at Liberty University. For those of you that don't know, Student Financial Services helps with student account-related information, financial aid processing. Our office also serves military affairs, and so our veterans and service members. And we also have a small division that works with interstate relationships as well. And I've been in a variety of roles, all in financial aid, really for about 13 years now.
Hi, I'm Ruth Bibby. I graduated from Liberty in 2013, and I currently work for Polaroid as their PR manager for North America. So what that means is I oversee the market both for Canada and the US, primarily focused on the US market. I've lived in New York since 2014 in 3 different communications and PR roles, and it's been a wild ride.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Tompkins. I'm a professor of law at the law school here at Liberty University, and I'm also the director of the Center for Prosecution. And before coming to Liberty, I was a practicing attorney for numerous years. Primarily, my practice was with the government, in the state government as an assistant district attorney in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And from there, I became an assistant United States attorney. And for several years after that, I served as a assistant general counsel and then acting general counsel for a few federal agencies in Washington, D.C. So I'm happy to be here this morning.
Hi, I'm Justin Mercer. I am the Deputy Diversity Officer for the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And as my colleague, Kwame Lawrence, so affectionately says, our job is, number one, to make sure that for our diverse groups that we have representation. And not only that, that they feel like there is no barriers to them taking part in any activity on our campus, as well as to be educated. And then last, we want to make sure that every person, no matter who you are and where you're from, that you feel like Liberty University is home to you. I've served in several different areas within higher education. I've worked in enrollment management. I've also worked in online education, as well as career services, housing, and now I'm working with a phenomenal team that I feel like it's the best team in the country, and that is in the Office of Equity and Inclusion. So can y'all do me a favor and give them a hand, please?
I just want to say all these individuals are so incredible again, and we're so grateful for taking the time for you all to be here with us and to just inspire me and all my peers in all the ways that you've paved the path for us, and you've allowed us to stand on your shoulders. So before we really get into anything, I'd like to ask Justin Mercer to answer this question as both a pastor and an active member of the Office of Equity and Inclusion, to kind of tell us a little bit about why this matters, why an event like this matters, not just for women, but for you gentlemen out here. Justin, could you answer that?
Sure. First thing I want to address is, as Christians, we must view it as imperative to view everyone that is in front of us as someone for whom Christ died for. He died for each and every person in this room. And so with that being said, if we decide to have any hateful attitude towards anyone within this room or anybody that you come across you are defying why he died. Everybody is welcome at the foot of the cross of Jesus to find redemption, to find grace, to find power. And so when we are working with someone, you must remember that. The second thing I want to talk about is we must not let a difference cause us to not be able to celebrate one another. That is all that our Savior was about. He values and appreciates differences, and therefore so should we. A scripture I want to reference with that is in 1 Corinthians 12, where Paul talks about us being many members that are part of one body. And so with that being said, our differences and our uniqueness is what brings effectiveness and efficiency to the kingdom. I can't do what you do, you can't do what I do, but if we all work together, we can make some phenomenal contributions to the body of Christ. And so that's my mindset on that.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Justin. So to Miss Cynthia Tompkins, Dr. Tompkins, you're incredible. I was just telling her earlier about how me and my roommate adore her. She is a boss, and you have such an incredible resume, not just as a prosecutor, but as a law professor here. So could you tell us a little bit about your path and your career, and in that just about the gift of discernment and just how that has affected you and built you up to be the leader that you are?
Oh, thank you, Esther. Those are great questions. I was telling Esther, she represents, we don't get to see at the law school a lot of the undergraduate students, but if meeting this young lady this morning is any indication, I'm really happy to be before you all, because what an intelligent group of students. The good question about how I became a prosecutor and why. I became a prosecutor because I felt that it was God's calling. The first thing I'll tell any women at a Limitless conference like you're having today, or any of the men, the first decision that you make, the way you make the decision rather, as to what you're going to do with your career is to seek the guidance of Christ. There is absolutely no way to be successful if God doesn't direct your footsteps. I mean, he tells you that in his word. So I think that I grew up at a time, or came along at a time when the civil rights movement that I'm sure you've studied in your history classes was about to conclude, or was near the midpoint of it. And I saw a lot at a very young age that seemed unjust to me. And I wanted to become a lawyer. From a very young age, I understood that. But at some point, I understood that I might want to be a prosecutor. And some would say, if you were interested in civil rights, why not a defense attorney? You know, I let the Lord direct my path, and becoming a prosecutor, I know was the right decision, because it gave me an opportunity to speak into the lives of all people. Now, one may wonder how you do that as a prosecutor when your job appears to be to gain only convictions and not be concerned with the defendant or others. That's a contrary view, and it's a misconception. The real truth is that prosecutors are defined as the ministers of justice. They're defined as that by the American Bar Association regulations and rules. And every good prosecutor recognizes that you are a minister of justice. Now, what does that mean? That means that you are there to represent all the people. So when I stood up as an assistant district attorney, I would stand and greet the judge and say, I represent the people of, I was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'd say I represent the people of the Commonwealth of Philadelphia and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And then as an assistant United States attorney, I represented the people of the United States. As a prosecutor, when you're aware that you're the minister of justice, then you accord yourself in Micah 6:8. What God says through the prophet Micah, he spoke to us, and he says, you have been shown, O mortal, what is right, and what is just, actually, one version of the Bible says. And so therefore, what does the Lord require of you? But to act justly, to love, mercy, and kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. As a woman in a profession that is still male-dominated, I knew that if it was my calling, and if I was going to truly walk humbly with my God and seek justice and to act kindly and merciful, then everything would work out for the good of God. So as that prosecutor, I loved the people, all the people. And that means that I was going to seek convictions and seek them to the most severe point that the law would allow, because some of the crimes deserve that. But I was going to also be merciful and be kind. And when I looked behind me, in many days, I would feel a mother, in particular, tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, that's my son. I recognize he's committed a serious crime, but I want you to remember, that's my son. And I had great compassion for that mother and the defendant. And so therefore, it helped me frame my questions in a way that would glorify God. It helped me make decisions and use my discretion, because prosecutors are given enormous discretion, in a way that I believed would glorify God. So as a woman in that profession, I bring the gifts that I hope every woman brings. I think women have, hope men have this too, but women have a more nurturing, they say we're nurturers more. And we also may have, just with a smile, it may bring a level of compassion. So I may be there to convict a defendant, but I can bring that compassion as well. So that's how I got started.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible. If you can't tell already, she's a boss again. But my next question is for you and anyone on the panel who would like to answer. I know today we're talking about being limitless, but we also have to acknowledge the fact that we're human and we are limited by nature, by God. And so in that, we have to do things like eat and sleep and rest. And so just for all of us achievers out here, just to hear from you with years of experience, how do you make time to just rest and pray and honor God in that?
Yeah, you still with me, or you would go?
Oh, you can answer first.
No, let's go with some of the others.
All right, Ms. Ruth Bibby.
This is something I personally struggle with, as you know, you're type A overachiever, running at 1,000 miles an hour, then you crash hard. I'm sure a lot of you guys in this room can relate to that, whether you're a freshman, senior, girl, boy, like that drive, if you have it, it's there, but it's exhausting. And it's super hard when you actually leave college to figure out that balance of you work a 9 to 5, and the hours are not usually 9 to 5. You may be working 60 hours a week. Then you also have to grocery shop, do your laundry, stay in touch with your relationships far away from you if you don't live in your home, manage your passions, your hobby, your church communities. There's a ton to manage all at once. And I was finding I was getting really burned out. And there wasn't enough structure of rest, but God gave us that structure. And my dad would get mad at me in high school. He said, Ruth, your Sundays should be spent as a Sabbath Sunday, not doing homework. And I was like, well, Saturdays are for your friends, and of course I'm gonna cram Sunday night. But I remember that in this past year, and I try to develop this habit, and I'm not the best at it, especially with travel, but if I'm at home in New York, I devote Monday through Saturday to work, errands, anything that needs to get done. Sunday morning hits, it's Sabbath. The Old Testament and the 10 Commandments were there for a reason, and life is designed to live in the fullest. And I don't believe God designed rules for us to limit us, but to make us limitless. So by having a Sunday Sabbath and not doing anything that's required of me, I'm able to actually pay attention to all those little things I put in the back. Like, how tired am I really? Do I need that nap? Like, that was a really hard week, and I refuse to allow my time, to have that 2-hour nap I may need. Or how about that relationship that I haven't kept up with, and they deserve an hour phone call? Or someone in the city that I don't see because our schedules don't align, and we need a 2-hour coffee. Or we need to just sit down and just journal and write and read. And that time we don't like to schedule because there's more important things, and people need to see what we're doing. But it's actually the most important part of who we are, especially as Christians. And by having this Sunday day as a Sabbath, and of course Sunday night turns into you gotta prep for the week. You gotta make your food, you gotta, actually do things. But it's actually having a day of rest. It allows me to actually reflect on Monday being, how well did I actually do in portioning out my time? How did that Sunday feel? Did I actually feel unsettled, getting into things that were hard and difficult? And how can I do that better, this coming weekend? And you enter Sunday morning, and instead of Sunday scaries, you're like, I have a day. I can actually breathe. And for me, that's been an overwhelming success of finding rest in a crazy city and a crazy career.
I think that's so good. It's so counterculture to acknowledge those limits of having to rest and having to have time to pray and to sleep. So I think that's so good that God made that for man, and he even shows that in Genesis when he even took time to say, wow, it's good, now I'm gonna rest. And so we should definitely follow suit. Just going into a little bit of your city life, and now we're on Ruth, but your city life and just the incredible things that you've done, not just here at Liberty, but in New York City. Could you tell us a little bit about your career path and that progression and how you went from being in these seats to being where you are now?
Well, it's wild being on the side of Convo stage when you're always sitting in Convo and you're like, my memories are in these seats. This building was not here when I was here though, so not literally these seats, but in Vine Center. But I've been in New York City since 2014, and I currently work for Polaroid doing their PR for North America. But to kind of back up and give a quick snapshot, I did move to New York City with $300 in my bank account. I got a job acceptance on Friday, and they wanted me to start on Tuesday, and I had nowhere to live. It's been a wild ride of miracles and things that have just fallen into place that I could not orchestrate, and so I can't take credit for it. God does call us to sow and to use our skills and talents for where we're supposed to be, but he's gonna open or close those doors. And he kept some doors closed for a long time, and I'm talking years, but he allowed other wider ones, better ones to open up, which is really incredible. And I think what's most important that I didn't really realize as a student is understanding your gifts and talents and the layers underneath of why that exists. What is that drive, if it's, whether it's business, entertainment, photography, fashion, arts, why do you care about that? And God's created that in you, and he may use those actual physical manifestations of it, whether you're a great photographer, whether you're really good at business and understanding marketing plans, to develop a path that's unique to just you. And it's something, every girl and guy is gonna have to figure out. But for the past, I guess, six and a half years, it's been a wild ride. It's tough, it's hard. You're gonna cry in the subway if you move to New York, it's guaranteed. Don't care if you're not a crier, you're gonna cry in the subway. I was not a crier. And people in the subway, if you wear sunglasses, it may be because they're crying, so it's fun. It's tough, but the Lord's good.
Yeah, the Lord is good. Just talking about the expectations that you had going into your career and going to New York, it's great to hear that God blew those expectations, and it's really great testimony to hear. But speaking of expectations, I know that you wear the hat of being a VP here at Liberty, one of the only female VPs, honestly, and you have so many students who look up to you, and you might not even know that, but even me, you've been such an inspiration to me. So could you tell us a little bit about just career expectations? I know that you have a couple different passions, and just about how you've been placed where you are and what God has taught you in that.
Sure. I told Esther this morning that she said that she's followed me, and I said, I didn't even think anybody knew who I was. That's so neat, Esther. So
weird.
I feel like oftentimes I do a lot behind the scenes, and people don't really know exactly what our division does and how we support students, and of course all of you. But as I mentioned, I've worked in higher education for about 13 years, and all of it pretty much here at Liberty. And I started out, I was a student here at Liberty. I started in 2004. And I had been brought up in a family with, that had really instilled a strong work ethic in my brother and I. And I knew that I would be able to go to college and work at the same time. So I went residentially for about a year and a half. And then I started applying for jobs here at Liberty. And I started as an entry-level processor. Back in the day, we did a lot by paper. You guys are very used to doing probably a lot of your forms electronically. That was not the case when I first started in financial aid. And so it was a lot of processing paperwork. And I don't know about you all, but I don't think I've ever met anyone that said when they graduated from high school or even from college that they wanted to go work in a financial aid office. It just doesn't happen. It's not somebody's career aspirations. And I didn't have that as my career aspiration either. I didn't even know much about financial aid, to be honest. And so I got a job in the financial aid office, and a couple years into my role there, I was presented with an opportunity to take on a leadership role. It was a mid-level leadership role, and to be quite honest with you, I was very scared about that. I knew that the Lord had placed in my life the abilities to lead, but I was very scared to take on that role. But I took a step of faith, and I moved up into that particular position. And by saying yes to that, it opened up a world of possibilities for me here at Liberty. So I worked in many different departments within financial aid. And then in 2018, I was asked to take on the role of vice president over the entire division. For those of you that don't know, we have one of the largest student financial services division in the country. So that is a pretty big deal, and I knew that was a big role, and I feel the weight of that on a daily basis, because I know that I'm serving every single one of you that are here today and those of you that are watching. That's a big weight that I carry and a big responsibility. And so a couple years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, our office was presented with some opportunities to get involved in policy and advocacy. I will be very honest with you, I had no background in policy or advocacy. My brother was actually the one in our family that had done some role in politics previously. I had no interest in that. And so it's just very interesting to see how the Lord places opportunities in your life that you didn't even think were on your radar. And so because of the position that I was in, I was asked to facilitate some of this policy and advocacy work. And I found that I have such a passion and a love for policy. And the reason why is because I know at the end of the day, it is all about the student. It is all about every single one of you and what is best for you all as you are pursuing your education. And Dr. Tompkins actually alluded to this. As women, we are nurturers. A lot of us are fixers by nature. And because I am that way, I wanted to be able to fix higher education. I know that I can't fix all of it, but I knew there were some portions that I could control. And I've been very, very grateful to have had many, many opportunities to advocate for every single one of you in Washington, D.C. on multiple occasions. We've written verbiage that has actually been written into law that actually betters higher education for all of you and has made worlds of difference that many people don't know. And that was a really big thing for me. And so I know that policy and advocacy is something I'm extremely passionate about. And hopefully we'll continue to have those opportunities in the future.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so much to balance, and it's so encouraging to hear that you have an incredible team beside you doing all that you do. And it's so inspirational, I think, for me and for probably many of you out here in the audience to be able to see these incredible women in the leadership positions that they are in. Something that I talk about a lot with my friends is having a mentor and being mentored and things like that. It's such a common topic just for young women who are looking to step into different career fields. And so could you start off, I mean, both of you work in a male-dominated industry, and so could you talk about the significance of mentorship, either as a mentor or as someone who's been mentored?
Sure, so mentorship is huge. If you don't have a mentor,
how do you get one?
Yes, find one. You really have to look at your circle of friends and see who could potentially be a mentor to me. If you're working somewhere, look for somebody that could provide that honest feedback to you. Not somebody that's always going to side with you and say, yes, that's a great path for you to go, but rather maybe that you should take a step back and say, let's think about this. What are the pros and cons? The interesting part about mentorship for me is one of my greatest mentors is actually a male. My supervisor that I've had for a very, very long time, who also works here at Liberty, is the CEO over our finance department. And he has provided me with every opportunity in the world. He's never looked at me differently because I'm a woman. He has never placed limits on me. And has always challenged me and encouraged me to be the absolute best I can be. But he's also provided me with very honest feedback to say, maybe that's not the path that you should go. And so that's just been incredibly encouraging to me. He's challenged me. He's encouraged me to never, ever, ever stop learning. And I say the same thing to every single one of you. Never stop learning. Whatever that may be, whether it's another degree or you're constantly challenging yourself by reading books, never, ever, ever stop learning. And so that's been a huge thing in my life.
That's awesome. Yeah. Dr. Tompkins, you exude confidence. And this is kind of a personal question that I have, and I don't know if you're ready for it, but how are you so confident, and how do you do that in such a way that makes other people feel comfortable, but also how has that confidence assisted you in your role as a prosecutor again and as a professor here at Liberty?
Okay. Well, I think that you have to exude a level of confidence, and confidence comes from first knowing who you are. And I haven't always been as confident, but in situations of trying situations, professionally or personally, I've always heard a voice in my head, or either I was fortunate to have very excellent, and I say excellent because they were Christian parents. And if I had moments of great doubt, I would be reminded by them and by Christ, remember who you are. Now, who am I? And who are you? We are all made in the image of God. And when you know who you are, that you are first a human being, and then you believe God when he says you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and then you believe those who share the worldview, your parents, your mentors, and others, when they tell you that, and then you understand who you are, centered in the scripture I mentioned earlier. I've been shown what's right. You've been shown what is right. So with that, a measure of confidence should come with that, because that means that you're more than a conqueror through Christ Jesus who loves you, and there's nothing you can't accomplish. Now, it doesn't mean that you become arrogant, because God hates pride, and for good reason, because pride will lead you to destruction. So confidence is a fine line sometimes between confidence and arrogance, but you should never become arrogant, because you go back to the foundation of Genesis 1:26. That God made man in his own image, and that we're all made in his image, and then you remember that we're dust, and that we're created for one sole purpose, to bring glory to his name. And if you're fulfilling that purpose, you always have your eyes on that prize, and you have your eyes on eternity. And when you have your eyes on eternity, you live to hear him say, well done, and come into my kingdom to live forever. And you don't live for self. We are in a time, I believe, when there are lovers of self, and it's good is called evil, evil good. And in these days that we live in, if you see people puffed up, and if you become puffed up, bring it down, or before God brings you down. Because he has an amazing way of humbling us. But be humble.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to that scripture. Walk humbly with God.
Yeah.
And so the confidence will be there. He'll give you the confidence so that you can, particularly as a woman who's working in male-dominated fields, and if he's called you to it, here's one thing I would point out. Often people will say, well, I'm not very comfortable with the woman in this job. I mean, that happens still. Or I'm not very comfortable with an African-American woman. Or I'm not very comfortable because you don't walk as I walk, or you don't talk as I talk. The real truth is, or maybe you don't wear the style that I have, or you don't wear your hair like I wear it, or you don't look like me. That happens, and that's unfortunate, because that's a trick of the devil, because he comes to divide and conquer. But when we walk with Christ, we recognize that hear the voice of God in your head. If you have a relationship, that's the difference between just waking up and saying, I'll go to church on Sunday morning, and developing a relationship with Jesus Christ. Develop it now if you don't have it. Come to Convocation, but read his word, understand him, and ask God who you are. Now, when you know who you are in that way, you'll be confident, and it's very important to be confident.
I feel mentored. I hope you do too. So Ruth, I know that you are still blazing through New York City. I know that you have so many different passions, and it's been a privilege to even get to know you for this little time. But could you give some advice to the students out here in the audience who may have multiple passions, maybe sitting in the chairs here today thinking, wow, like, I want to be on the streets of New York. I want to cry in the subway. Could you give some encouragement or some practical advice as to how you took your passion and you allowed God to make that your career?
Sure. So kind of back up to my time at Liberty. So when I was here, I was the photo editor of the Liberty Champion, the fashion show director.
Wow.
Honor Society of too much stuff. Double majors in fashion merchandising and journalism, and minors in business and photography. So basically I had two channels. I had my photojournalism degree path, and then I had my fashion merchandising degree path. And I love both. Basically, I was like, well, I'm paying for 4 years of college. Let's just get the most out of it. Like a true overachiever, I'm sure you guys can, yeah. But with that, there's a lot of passions that we have that are not necessarily gonna make us money, and there are ones that are. And I think it's important to delineate. So for me, I loved shooting. I shot all the events. I shot convos, the football games, you name it, the 2012 elections when they came through town. But I had to realize that it was not profitable to be a photojournalist, especially with the decline in the media landscape. So I had to be honest with myself and say, okay, that's not something that I can pursue wholeheartedly because it's just not feasible as much as I want it to be. That I could go into that forever. But how can I look at my other passions and actually make that into my career? Yeah. Something that you're not gonna get burned out going to 9 to 5. And as someone who loved photography, I couldn't also not make a career out of something where I was not making money, but I was probably gonna burn myself out of a love. And so I decided to actually put that aside because I did love it, if that makes sense. Okay. So, you know, you gotta really look at what you're going to be doing for your 9 to 5. And also what you love. So I was talking to someone backstage about graphic design and photography and loving it. I would encourage you to take a look at what you love and why, because if you, for example, I'm gonna use photography because that's what I know and love. Why do you like shooting? And what do you like shooting? Do you like shooting people? Do you like shooting portraits? Why? Is it because you want to connect with others? Do you want to use your creative gifts for the world to see? Do you want to help people feel seen and be seen? There's all these underlying layers to what you love that can really be applied to a ton of different jobs versus what is the symptom of that love. So the symptom is taking the portraits. So once you understand the underlying love of how God has intrinsically made you, you can understand that there's a lot of career opportunities and fields that you can be in. Yeah. And for me, thankfully, my love of visuals, narrative, storytelling, and connecting people has ended up doing PR for Polaroid. And our brand cornerstone is human connection. So it's super easy for me to go into my 9 to 5 knowing that I'm working with a company and a brand and product that wants to focus on human connection. You create that moment, you have that memory instantly, you're not distracted by the notifications on your phone, and you can keep living in that moment, and you still have that artifact in hand to share with people. So it's been a wonderful journey.
That's awesome. I think that's really great. And I know specifically the individuals who are probably hearing this and saying, I have so many questions. And if you do, Ruth will be here for most of the day at 1 o'clock at the business panel. If you want to come ask her more in detail questions, I'm sure she'd love to connect with you. So right before we close out, I just wanted to talk to, again, Justin Mercer, both the pastor and an active member of the Office of Equity and Inclusion. This year's International Women's Day hashtag was Each for Equal, and I know what that means for me, but I was wondering if you could tell the audience what that means to you, what that means to all of us, and some practical ways that we could step out of a moment like this and be each for equal.
Sure. As a male, I receive the meaning of this from my mother. So right now I want to give a shameless plug for the moms. So can we give a hand for all mothers, please? I wasn't as polished now as I was then growing up. And so with that being said, my mom was extremely patient with me. And it's hard for me to recount this story without getting emotional because I had my father in my life. He was there. But he was very busy. He was a pastor just like myself, also mayor. And so with that being said, my mom kind of brought up the rears. She showed me not only the stigma that gets placed upon women, loving, nurturing, and all that, but she also showed me some things we forget about females, which is their strength and their tenacity. Wow. My mom wouldn't take no for an answer. I don't know if you've ever been through this with your mother, but let a order get wrong in a restaurant or a fast food restaurant, and she made me go back in. And so with that being said, I can see by the smiles and the laughs that you've been through that before. But beyond that, she was the first African-American female to work in her division at the hospital that she served for 32 years. And so with that being said, I gleaned strength, I gleaned tenacity, but not only that, but I understood from her how to treat my wife as well as my daughter. I have 4 kids, and I have 1 daughter amongst 3 sons. And so with that being said, if I had not had this treatment from my mother, I wouldn't know how to respond to her. What I would say as far as gentlemen are concerned is never be afraid to openly appreciate the value that women bring to society. It does not make you less of a man. It does not make you weak to be able to treat your counterpart as equal as far as seats at the table. I was so appreciative of what Ashley bragged on with Dr. Ritz, because I'm a firm proponent of that you treat people with respect no matter who they are. I'll say this, and please, fellas, don't body slam me for this at all. We don't want any WWE action. But women rule the day, and we will be nothing without our women counterparts. And I'm just grateful to be a part of an event like this. And my prayer is that we continue to go on and celebrate all the women and the contributions that they make in society and across the globe. I'm grateful to be here.
Wow, Justin. I feel fired up and inspired, all the things. As I was thinking about today and what to say and how to prepare, I was met with some really challenging thoughts this weekend, actually, and it started to make me think about what it looks like to be brave. And I have this bracelet right here. It says "Here and Now," and just the past month of my life, I've just been thinking about what it looks like to take that next big step. And as a graduating senior, or I'm about to graduate, I'm like preparing for all these things, and I'm like, what does it look like to be brave? And I was thinking in my past, like, what are moments in my life where I've been brave, where I felt limitless? And a little story about that is a couple years ago, I decided to run for office, which most of you out here in the audience, if you've been here long enough, you've probably seen me out there campaigning and doing the things. And I honestly think that that is the times in my life where I've been the bravest. And that's because I put myself out there not knowing what the results were going to be. Spoiler alert for anybody who wasn't here. There are times where I didn't get it. And that was disappointing, but also I think it taught me the most. And I think that as I'm right here, right now, I look at moments like that, and I think those are probably the moments that made me a marked woman on this campus. Those are probably the moments that led to me being here right next to you incredible people, to get to ask these questions. And so I wanted to hear you all share with me, but also with our audience today, what moments in your life have you been, or what is a moment in your life where you've been brave, where you've been limitless, and whether you got the job you were applying for or not, or you did, what are those moments in your life? And you can start, Ashley, but I just want to hear that for me and for our audience here today.
Sure. And I think you said it very well. I think that there are moments in your life where you will look back and say, wow, I can't believe I said yes to that. Mm-hmm. And I think as your life ebbs and flows, you go through different journeys and stages of life. I'm a wife and a mother, very different stages of life right now. And I have new moments of bravery now that I've come into those new stages. So that will evolve. And I think from my career, as I alluded to before, I think saying yes to those moments where you probably feel inadequate, but you know that the Lord is nudging you and telling you, I've created you for this moment. I've created you for this position, and taking that leap of faith. And you'll often question those moments, but I think just remembering that He who has called you has equipped you.
That's good.
I would like to clarify also what bravery is. Bravery does not come from existing confidence. Bravery only happens in the presence of fear. It doesn't exist. You have to be scared to be brave. So people can say, oh, that was so brave of you. Oh, that's a brave move. But was there fear present? Yeah. And there's gonna be so many times in your life where you're going to deal with overwhelming, real existing fear, not made up. It's gonna be maybe an employer, job search, job loss, restructuring at a company, the market's crashing like they're doing right now. Things are gonna lead to real fear in your life that people can see on the outside like, yikes, that's a terrible situation, that's tough. That's when the bravery comes in. It says, I'm going to face that fear. I'm gonna get through that fear. I think that's really important because, bravery is a muscle. You have to stretch it and you have to work out at it. But just like working out, it doesn't get easier. You get better at it, but you're still gonna have that kind of struggle and that tension. So I think that's really important to say, bravery comes from the presence of fear. And I think that the most fearful situations are the ones that the doors are closing. And you're like, I don't know what the outcome is gonna be, like you said. And you're like, this could fail, and this could fail hard. Or I could put in hours or invest money in this, and this could tank. There's a really high likelihood of this tanking, but I do believe that this is aligned with God's peace of where I need to pursue. Don't go busting down every door thinking you need to do everything and be everyone. You're not. But if you're busting down the right doors that God says, try that avenue, no guarantee of results, and he may let you fail. You may fall flat in your face in the mud, but you're gonna get back up. Your story doesn't end there. It's just a chapter, just like a book. You don't get to read the finish until you get through each chapter. But pursue those paths that are scary, but with God's peace and nudging.
That's really good.
Yeah. Well, I agree with what my colleagues here have said, but I also think that bravery, I would add to that, is that for young people in particular, peer pressure is very difficult. And I think you have to make a decision at a very young age that you're going to be brave enough to follow your own light, and I hope your light will be in line with God's will. So that's true bravery, when you can just walk with the true light. And that is, if someone's going left, you can say, I'm going to go right, because I'm going to stay in line with what I was created to do. And so that's the bravest thing, to not succumb to, as you get ready to enter your careers. You'll be in a secular world, you're in the world, but to not be in the world. And that's the way to really be brave. So when I've made those decisions and stayed in that and didn't follow the crowd, but I followed the true light, that's the essence of bravery.
That's good.
Yeah.
I would say bravery is also not having the fear of being the first. Many of you in the audience is probably similar as I. I was the first one in my family to go to college. And to add context to that, my mother has 9 brothers and 2 sisters. And so with that being said, I roughly have literally 100 first cousins. And out of that entire group, I was the first male to go to college.
Let's go.
And so with that being said, had I not stepped up to the plate to be brave on that account, I wouldn't have been prepared for the many firsts I've experienced at Liberty University. A lot of the offices that I've served in, I was the first African-American male to serve in those offices. And so had I not jumped over that hurdle at that time, it wouldn't have prepared me to continue to jump over these hurdles now and for the future. Even today, this is the first time I've ever been on a panel where I am the only male amongst all these wonderful women. So with that being said, if I can do it, so can you. And I'm just grateful to be here.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much. Please. This has been incredible, and I just really appreciate everybody, again, who took the time to come out here today, and our panelists. They've been incredible to host. If you want to hear more about what Limitless is really about, I would encourage you to check out our breakout sessions throughout the day. We have the first one starting at 1 o'clock. It's going to be the business breakout, and then we also have a women in sports, and you get to hear some incredible panelists from there. And then at 2 p.m. we have women in ministry, law and government, and then at 3 p.m. we have women in STEM and healthcare. So you can find more information either on social media at OEI, Liberty OEI, and I'd encourage all of you to show up to our Spill the Tea networking event. Mission House Coffee, which is incredible, have decided to sponsor this event and partner with us in just bringing this to you, all of you. So encourage your peers and your professors, whoever, to come check it out and cheer on your peers who are moderating the panels. They put so much hard work into it. I just want to say thank you again to our awesome team. This is literally a dream come true. And to the OSD team for letting us be here at Convo today. It's just been incredible. So I encourage you, be brave, be limitless, and I hope to see you at today's breakout sessions. Thank you, and you guys are dismissed.
Stop over to law school one day and let's chat more.
I would love that.
More about you, okay?